All right, we got one. We got two.
Hey, quick on the draw. I like it. It's like we've done this before. What's going on, Chad?
Not too much. How about you guys?
Just getting ready here, my man. Thank you for joining. Should I turn that heater off, Chris? Yeah, probably.
All right. You want to give it 1 minute?
Yeah. Yeah, let everybody get in here. I'm going to turn the heater off.
Yeah, you do sound like you're still at the airport.
Yeah, we'll get rid of that. All right. We get going on the laptop here. We're good to go. Yeah, let everybody get in here. I'm going to turn it. All right. I'm hot. Let's do it.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Pursuit Live, brought to you by Pursuit Energy. If you haven't already, head over to pursuitenergy.com. Use code 10LIVE. Save 10% on your energy drink purchases. With me, as always, is my partner in lives, Mr. Dave Hawkins.
What's up, everybody?
And tonight we got a pretty cool guest for you tonight. All right, I think this show is going to be kind of interesting. It's going to be a little bit of fun. We got Chad from 715 Outdoor Nation with us. Big supporter of the show, so thank you, Chad. I know we've been working on this, so we're glad to finally get you on board.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here.
All right. So I guess real quick, a couple announcements, if you will. As always, we like to open the show with some good news. Number one, I'm a little bit healthier, so I can participate in the show a little bit without dying. I can actually breathe tonight, which is kind of good. If anybody's going to be in the tri-state area, next week, starting Thursday, February 29th, running all the way through Sunday, March 3rd, the Empire State Outdoor Sportsman Show in Suffern, New York. If you're going to be in the area, Dave and I will be at booth 231 and 232. Please come on out. Come check us out. We're going to be right next to Buckshot Taxidermy and Red Sky Safari. So if you're in that row, you can't miss us. We're going to have a whole setup there. We're going to have the show set up. Dave will have Urban Pursuit gear. I'll have Only Bows gear. We're also going to be joined by Rob from Elite Aerial Imagery. And he's going to be bringing to light his new drone deer recovery operations. So it's going to be a good event. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully some of y'all, if you're in the area, can come on out and visit. Not only that, the one thing that we kind of teased on around the holidays, starting next week, we are going to be running a fundraiser raffle. All right, so stay tuned for this. We are going to be benefiting the American Bear Foundation, Wounded Warriors in Action, and the NYPD archery team. We are going to be giving away a lot of cool stuff, including a brand new bow. So stay tuned for that. Tickets will be available. There's only going to be 500 tickets available for the drawing, but it is definitely one hell of a prize package. And I want to give a quick shout out to B&B Archery and Targeteers for generously donating some of the parts of the prize package. So definitely thank you to them, and thank you to you guys for your continued support. So with that, Dave, do you have anything before we get started?
Yeah, I got something to add in the beginning. You've got a lot of comments going already. As far as people that want to join this show, anybody and anybody's welcome. It's just a matter of reaching out to Chris or myself, and at that point, it's just scheduling. So I know they were joking around. We got to get Lewis and Tommy on Hunting New York Outdoors. Just reach out to us, guys. So we do pretty good with reaching out to people and coordinating. But if anybody out there, big or small, big crew, single person, doesn't matter. If you want to join this show, just send us a message, and we're going to fit you right into the schedule as soon as we can. And for anybody that is joining this show, this is an Instagram Live. Obviously, you can see the comment section there. Very interactive on our show. So that's basically what's going on. I figured I'd touch on that because we are starting to get some new viewers. We're picking up some more followers through these. So again, my name's Dave with Urban Pursuit. We got producer Chris with Only Bows, and tonight our guest is Chad from 715 Outdoor Nation. And this is it, man. Every Friday at 7:30, this is what we do. So if you're new to it, hang tight, and we hope you enjoy the show. So, Mr. Chad, what's going on, buddy?
Not too much. What are you guys?
We're doing good. So obviously, I take the I take the first section here. It's more the intro category. What we like to do though is not so much just, well, we'll get into the hunting intro, but we like to let everybody know who our guest is. Like, who do you do? What's your everyday, job? What do you do for a living? And then we kind of roll into your hunting background, the who, what, where, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So, name's Chad Keenlyne. I live in Pepin County, Wisconsin, which would guess would be like a west central Wisconsin area. Um, I pretty much work 5 days a week. I'm a butcher. I know it's a different thing in Long Island, but I mean, I'm a butcher, so I mean, I cut meat for a living. Um, Before that, I guess I was a bow technician for Matthews. I did that for a couple of years and then got out of that and got a job closer to home, and that's where I'm at right now.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you were a bow tech. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, did you enjoy that? It was just a career change, a different
Yeah.
path you went on?
It's just something closer to home. I mean, it's so hit or miss with when it comes to being a technician. It's you got your hot spots time of
Sure.
year, then it just goes drops right out.
Yeah. Okay. So let's actually get more into the hunting background. Like, what got you in the woods? Were you hunting archery as a younger kid? Probably not. You probably had some rifle experience or shotgun experience.
Yeah.
Let's take it back to your youth, if you would, and
Yeah.
to present day.
So I mean, I've been in the woods for, I mean, as long as I honestly can remember. My dad, I grew up him, he was always a big hunter and not so much bow hunter. I mean, he used to bow hunt back, when he was younger, but then he kind of got out of it. But I mean, he was a trapper and hunter, and as long as I can remember and I was able to walk, I was out in the woods with him constantly. So, I mean, he constantly got me out in the outdoors. He actually made it a point to get me in the outdoors. So, but I guess it kind of grew past that for me. It became more of a passion for me beyond what he thought was going to expect it to be. Um, but I mean, I grew up. When I first started out, it used to be in Wisconsin. It was all shotgun, so I started out with all shotgun. I didn't get into bow hunting until probably I was like 17 years old. Um, but then I started off with a recurve. So I mean, I got one kill, and it was like a doe. I mean, that was like pretty much winning the Super Bowl for me. But after that, I got into compound bows, and I'm kind of doing that ever since. I mean, I do the waterfall hunting all the time. That was a big thing with my dad and my grandpa was waterfall, and then kind of with my grandpa passing, I that kind of grew from there for me. That's kind of my big pack.
All right. So obviously, the more time you spend in the woods, you're gonna learn a few things. Especially when you're younger, right? You're gonna find 1,000 ways not to do something. But if it ends up teaching you a lesson at the end of the day or at the end of that season, maybe that was worth it.
Absolutely.
Maybe give us a story or two for some early successes you had, but also maybe one or two tough lessons you learned along the way. Really hunting specific.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we'll go with a story of success here. We'll start off with that. So when I was 12 years old, it was me and my dad, and we were hunting, and I remember I was with him, and we hadn't seen anything all day when we were out here hunting, and there was a 5 point buck that came running out, and Dad was like, "That thing is way too far away. Don't shoot." And so I'm like, "Okay." So I'm kind of sitting on my kind of on a shotgun, looking at him, and he's like, "Don't you dare shoot." And I'm like, "I won't shoot." And then he kind of moved broadside, and I'm like, I told Dad, I said, I think I'm going to shoot. And he goes, "Don't shoot." He says, "You have a 20 gauge. It ain't going to reach out that far. And it's a 9-inch sight." And so I'm like, "Well, I think I'm going to shoot." He goes, "You know what? If it makes your day, go ahead and shoot."
Yep.
So I'm like, "All right." So I looked at it, and Dad's like, he says, "You're going to fall short." I'm like, "Well, since Dad said fall short, I'm going to raise above it. I'm going to go a little bit above his back." And, but when I shot, and I will never forget, you see snow flying and watch him drop. And I looked right at Dad, and Dad looked right at me, and he goes, "That did not just happen." I'm like, "It did, I think." And I go, "Either he ran away or he disappeared." And he's like, "No, we went running down there." And obviously, that was my first buck I had ever gotten.
Nice. Good for you.
It's probably one of my biggest, funnest memories. But when it comes to like learning things in the outdoors, is patience is the biggest thing. I mean, you got to learn patience. And also, the biggest thing is respect. I mean, you have to respect Mother Nature. I mean, she'll keep you. I mean, you can have one great year where you're, doing great, and I said the next year and you can have is nothing. It's a horrible year.
Yeah.
So I mean, you just keep you right where you need to be. I mean, she doesn't spoil you all the time. I'll say that.
I'm a big believer in karma in all phases of life.
Absolutely.
I think tenfold when it comes to either the deer woods or just whatever your hunting journey in general is. I'm a big believer in karma. Just do the right thing. You
Yeah.
know, for the sheer fact you're in the woods, you're by yourself a lot of the times. If you need good karma on your side, that's a good spot to have it
Yeah,
for any
absolutely.
reason. So that's kind of how I look at it. And we preach it a lot. Just do the right thing. It's so simple. It's some garbage on the ground in the parking spot on public land. Pick it up. Whatever.
Yep.
If you see somebody else's gear, tree stands, cameras, don't touch it. We've all done. You walk past the camera, you give a thumbs up or whatever the hell you do. But
Yep.
you know what? It's almost fun. Leave it. Don't touch it. Just the simple things. We got enough going on in our daily lives. This is supposed to be fun for us. Supposed to be relaxed. And the last thing we want, camera stolen, tree stand stolen. So simple
There's
things,
already
man. Rack up those karma points.
exactly. There's also already like a big negativity when it comes to I guess outdoorsmen or
Right.
hunters. I mean, trying to keep that where you can show respect and people can see that's huge
I
because
agree.
people don't look down on hunters as much because when it comes to like I'm a big firm believer. If I wound a buck or shoot a buck and I wound it, I can't find that buck. I'm eating a tag. I mean, that's it for me. I'm
All
not
right.
gonna shoot another.
I
So I
respect
mean,
that. I mean, a
I'm
lot of guys, I know for a fact a lot of guys wouldn't do that. So
exactly.
I respect you for that.
But I'm also, I'm not going to sit there and only look for an hour. I mean, I'll be out there probably the next day and the whole afternoon, and
Right.
until I get to a point where I cannot find that thing.
Right. Right.
But
It's if you exhaust every resource that you have available to you, whatever that may be, if you tried every option, you've pulled in every resource you have, friends, family, tracking dogs, whatever you have accessible to you, and you've tried everything you can and you put a true effort in, all right, yes, you attempted to harvest that and recover. That's what's required of you, more so as the ethics of it, right? You
yep,
know, is there producer Chris? Help me out on that. In like our syllabus or anybody here nationwide, what is, let's say, the law on that? Obviously, I don't want to quote us to go on the books, but what is the ruling on that?
Well, there are states where, like, I'll use Alaska for example. If you wound an animal in Alaska, that's it. Your tag's spent. Um, Down here in New York, that's not the case. If you wound an animal, it's on you to make every effort possible to recover your animal. But if you don't, for one reason or another, there's nothing saying that you have to eat your tag. Um, and if you're in this game long enough, it's going to happen to you. It's statistic. It doesn't really matter. Listen, if you hunt long enough, it's going to happen. You know, whether you intend for it to happen or it's going to happen. Um, I have a story where I lost a doe once. I shot it, followed up on it and I had good blood. Once we found her, we bumped her a little bit. She tried crossing a creek, got to the other side, put one paw on the other side, and that was it. Died right there, and then the water took her down. Did I give every opportunity to try to recover that animal? Yeah, my buddy literally was running behind me, picking up clothes and gear as I'm running down this raging almost river at this point after a good rainstorm, trying to get to the deer, and it didn't work out. By the time I got downstream, I couldn't find the deer, and I lost that deer that year. So it doesn't necessarily mean you make a bad shot, you gut shoot the deer and you push it, you can't find it, whatever. There's any number of circumstances where you're not going to be able to recover that animal. It could go onto a neighbor's property and they don't give you permission to go recover it, and that's likely to happen here in New York. There's nothing saying you have to eat your tag. There are states, and I definitely recommend anybody that's watching, check your local regulations when it comes to that. Here in New York, you don't have to eat your tag. In some states out west, yeah, you do have to eat your tag. Alaska, I know for a fact, you pop a shot at an animal and you wound it, you better find it, because if not, your hunt's over.
So I mean, that's one of these. We try and Sorry about that, Chad. But I mean, you brought up a good point, about so sometimes we go down these rabbit holes, and some of them, like this one, it was worth touching on. And it's at the very least, maybe we always think about that new hunter or first year hunter that's maybe joining us tonight, or we'll bring it up in the future. I mean, we could do a whole episode probably just on this. So I mean, that's why we love having new guests on like yourself. The new guests are always bringing a new perspective to everything. So that was a great point that you brought up. I want to talk about 715 now. So obviously we're kind of up to date. People kind of see where you're coming from when you're hunting journey, where you're at on your hunting journey. Where do you remember a specific time or a specific moment where you're like, I really want to try and start something like this? You didn't know fully what it was going to be, but what do you think that moment was, and how did you progress to where you're at now?
Um, I guess so. And I mean, it all started with, I'd say probably, I mean, it started about 3 years ago. Um, we had started a page, and I mean, we dealt with the whole hacking. I mean, we were way up there, it got hacked, and then had to start over. But I mean, we are just at a point where, we're kind of self-filming, and we had all this stuff at home, and it's like, why don't we, try to share this with people? I mean, granted, people, I mean, I like to personally watch how people hunt in different areas. To me, it's interesting to watch because it's from where I hunt in Wisconsin is probably completely different way you guys hunt in New York. It's completely
Oh
different.
yeah.
And so, I mean, I just like to see how other people hunt and, the stuff they learn. And, you can actually use it to your advantage too, what they learned. So, I mean, I guess that's just kind of like what I like to do. So we just kind of sat down and decided, well, maybe we should do this, start something up here. We know whether people learn from it or they just get entertainment from it or, just whatever from it. But we're like, we should probably start something like that and we'll see where it goes. So, I mean, it's going to be going pretty good so far. It's got its up and downs, that's for sure. But to where it's going, it's I guess you can say it's a here first. Um, so we just started. We got the LLC, but we will be designing and building food plots.
Nice.
So it's actually turning into a company now. And so I mean, I think I got right now it's like 4 different properties right now to where it's going. And it's every day it's built. So, I mean, that starts all the way from going out to the property, seeing what the best point or area it is for them to do their food plot, kind of looking at the area where their bedding would be, where their soil content would be, and what would probably be best in that area to grow, and versus stands and everything else where it should be. So, I mean, I guess we kind of design and build that with them, and then we finalize it, and they go from there.
That's very cool, man. I feel like this is going to be a big season for all the food plot guys, all the ag guys. I don't know what the buzz is this year, especially this off season, but I mean, it's all over Instagram. Domain, those crew, anybody related with that team and everything. Yep, exactly. It's everywhere. So I mean, that's a good thing. That's by design, getting the name brand out there. If I had any type of access or need or spot I could use it on, I would dive into it. Speaking of which, we got Woods joining right now. His ears must have been ringing. Uh,
Yeah.
again, I always tip my hat to the guys and girls that do any type of food plot, any type of land management. It really is. There is an art to it. It is not as simple as people may make it out to seem. And then the other thing is, you hunt private land, you're hunting over a food plot. Yeah, well, you know what goes into growing a food plot? The amount of time, the effort. And I always, what I try and say as a joke in return is try and grow a healthy lawn and sustain it for a couple months. And that's just grass. You're not even dealing with crops. So
Yep. And
that's very interesting. All I can say for that is keep the camera rolling, man. That's awesome content at the very least. It's very interesting for everybody like myself. I don't have a need for it because I don't have any place to do it. But I love watching to see what goes into it because, like I said, it's an art. So that's cool. Good luck with everything with that.
thank you. And then I always tell people, I said when you start putting that much time, energy, and money into it, I mean, it's not cheap by any means.
Oh,
And so I telling people that I said once you start having that, and when you do finally have that successful season of the deer you've been catching on camera and everything, it's more than a deer at that
right.
point. It's built something that you've grown. I mean, we've done a food plot now for the last 4 years, and then we've grown some big ones. And it's come to the point. I remember when I was younger. and I'd shoot a deer. To me, I shot a deer,
Right.
But now, I mean, I can take a thwack at, an 8-pointer, and I'm sitting there shaking like a leaf in the wind. I just because you put so much work and energy into that, and it just makes it much more rewarding.
You
And
literally
so,
tricked him to the point where you built him a fake habit. Well, it was real, but you
yeah,
built a habitat to trick him to think it was safe and living there. I mean, you
exactly.
completely won the game. You gave him bedding, maybe with hinge cuts. You gave him
Yep.
food. You gave him access trails. You gave him water at some point. You
I
beat
mean,
him.
just we built them, bedding areas. We
Yeah,
built them food,
yeah,
waterways, everything trails, just different pinch points and all this other stuff. You
right,
built that. I mean, to me, it's like you said, it's a game.
yep,
But you're winning at their game. It's their game, but you're just winning at
right.
it.
But just something simple as growing like a screen of grass or hay, and now you're controlling his movements. I mean, there's so much. And I think before the season comes, we're going to do a whole big like food plot, everything about this. It'll
Yep.
probably take us a couple episodes to really dive into it. But obviously, you'd be one of those guys. Woods with Woods. There's a couple other guys we could have on. We could really dive into it and really just talk about the very specific nitty gritty of it.
Yeah.
So I got two more questions for you to kind of close out this beginning section, and then we're going to turn it over to Chris, and we'll get to everybody's favorite topic, the gear topic. So, before you go out on a hunt of any kind, do you have any ritual that you do? It could be funny, it could be serious, anything like that. It could be quirky, anything, superstitious.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I do it. I mean, in high school, I was a big wrestler in high school, and
Okay.
for some odd reason, I always had to rock out to the song before I wrestled. It was from Europe. It was the Final Countdown. I don't know why,
All right.
but that just song always pumped. And so when I'm
Long as
driving
it's
out
not
to
in a
the
mesh
stage,
T-shirt, we're all right.
right? And so like before I go to the stand, I mean, I'm in my truck. It's 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and that radio is cranked, and I
I
just
love
walk
it.
it on. But
I
I
love it.
can something unless it's happening. Otherwise, I mean, the one time it was my phone wouldn't connect to my radio in my
Oh,
truck, and I'm like, this,
oh,
I don't even know why I'm going anymore.
right.
You
It
know,
just doesn't feel right.
no, I mean, but I went out, that day, and to me, I mean, it worked because I went out that morning. I sat till about 12:30, 1 o'clock. I didn't see a single deer. So I mean, that obviously was the issue, in my head anyway.
Absolutely.
But
I literally just wrote that down. That's the title for your episode, the final countdown.
there you
Because
go.
now it's stuck in my head. I'm going to curse you out for the next week
That's
as I'm
awesome.
singing it to myself. All right. I got one last question, buddy. After a successful harvest, you get the jitters done, you collect yourself. Who's that first phone call you're making?
Honestly, it's well, I guess I don't really. I mean, I'd probably let my wife know that I'm gonna be home late,
Yep.
but that's about it. But I'm just gonna text her. I'm not gonna call her. Um, But I'm not gonna lie, probably my dad. Is he gonna come help and recover? No, because my dad, he's at that point in life now where he just has health issues and he can't get out in the woods and everything like that. But will I sit there and try to get him in my truck and sit there, come out there and help me find that? Absolutely.
Nice.
He shared so many moments with him. He carried me out in the woods and took me out to find all these things. I'm returning the favor. Because he still enjoys it, but he just can't do it anymore.
Right. Right. Well, any connection you can make at that point, it
Yeah.
makes them. I'm sure he appreciates it, even if they don't say something in the moment. Just to be in the moment any way possible. Even maybe just get a hand on that rack or just to
Yep.
feel the high. Anything. So
Yep.
that's good. Good deal, buddy. All right. So again, I kind of just throwing a couple of things out here for anybody that's new to the show. Thank you for watching. Obviously, you got Chris from Only Bows and myself, Forever Pursuit, as your co-host. This is a couple tier program. So we just got done with the main intro section that I do, and now we're going to switch gears. We're going to turn it over to Chris, and Chris is going to take you guys through the next section, which is his favorite, essential gear. So, producer Chris, have at it, buddy.
All right, so Chad, I guess I'm going to open it up with the same question I ask everybody. Aside from license, your weapon, your cell phone, anything like that, what are three things that you have to have in your pockets whenever you go out in the woods?
The thing I have to have, for one, it's I use milkweed. I mean, that's how I check my wind. I always have milkweed. I have to have it.
Very nice.
Um, I'm a freak for checking wind. I don't know why. It's like seems like every 20 minutes, half hour, I'm
Just
checking wind because it just
throwing it
feels
up
like
there.
I'm wind.
Yep.
And you don't take a lot of moves, just a little flick and she's out
Yep.
there. The other thing, obviously, yeah, your archery shit and whatever not, but is I have to have I have a rack, so it's my rattling rack, but it's actually the rack is from the last buck that I hunted with my grandpa with. So that's the rack. That's my rattling rack. I have to have that with whether I use it or not.
All right.
The other thing that I always have to have is uh, I always have to have my again my I have a favorite T-shirt. I don't know why, but again, I have to have that on with me. I have to have it.
Are you
Is it?
wearing it, or it's just got to be in the pack?
It's on right now.
Okay. Fair
I got
enough.
like but I mean, do I have to have it for a specific reason, or just no? I've had success every time I wear the darn thing. So
There you go, man. Hey, a lot of us played sports, either to certain levels in our lives, and anybody that plays a sport, you're superstitious. At one point, you get on a hot streak, you get on a hitting streak, whatever it is. Like, well, I ain't washing that shirt, or forget about washing the hat, or whatever it is. If you got to wear your right shoe on your left foot, it might be uncomfortable, but if you're winning, keep going. Whatever it takes. I get it.
Listen, I'm with you. I have a hat that I wear. If I don't have that hat, I almost feel like the hunt. Like I'm not like it's not even worth going.
It's
So
like Goodfellas. It's
right.
like at the end of Goodfellas. I got to go back and get my hat. You serious right now?
yeah, I mean,
I'll fly
I'll still play
without
for the
it.
Hunt for that reason.
So all right, let's kind of dig into the gear a little bit here. Now, getting into like your bow setup. All right, now would you say you're more of a tree stand, a tree stand hunter, ground blind? What what do you kind of walk me through your setup?
All right, so typically, so on the property that we hunt, we got a lot of ladder stands, but it all really depends on like in the morning. I'll sit in like a climber stand. I'll sit there in the morning, and when it comes to like an afternoon hunt, I'll be in the ground blind because typically, in the morning, you won't really see deer coming in the food plot. They'll kind of trickle around it and stuff like that and play around it, but they will not come into the food plot. So I mean, I stay on my ladder stand around, kind of surrounding the food plot, but they're not in the food plot. Around here, typically about an hour before dark, they will come into the food plot, and that's where I'll usually be in a ground blind just because I mean that's just my best advantage. Um, but I do hunt with all the I do have that property, but I also don't want to overhunt that property, so I will actually hunt public, which is a whole nother game, but that's one I love. And I mean, I'm gonna say I'm a climber. I use a climber. I'm not a saddle boy. But I mean, I'm still hanging on strong. But
Go up one day.
But no, I mean I don't go out to public as much, but I mean I just bring that with. I mean I like the excitement of public. Public's like a whole different game from what I'm used to. I mean I always people always pick on me, like they're like, oh, your pet deer, that's what they always call it on the property with the food plot. And they're like, oh, you don't want to shoot your pet deer today, so you're gonna go out to public and shoot a real deer. But whatever. But I mean I enjoy it because it's a whole different ball game. So I mean I can get down there, I can get kind of burnt out of the same thing. So I like to go out there and just go on the public land. Like the public land we have here that we like to go out to is it's 26,000 or 26,000 acres. So I mean you can walk all over it.
Yeah, I
But
can't fathom that. That is a lot. Now that's timber. We joke about timber here on the island.
it,
That's timber.
it is it is hills, it's all mixed into one. And I mean, like a lot of the hills we have around here, especially in like Buffalo County and stuff like that, are a lot of bluff country. So I mean, you get some guys that will come from down south that will come up here, and they call them mountains. I mean, they're big hills.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, you walk out there. I mean, you just kind of look for the best place, but you don't want to be up where a lot of people are. So I mean, I've gotten to the point where I've hiked 3 miles back, but regretted it the minute I shot a deer because now I got to drag a deer 3 miles.
Exactly. Exactly. So I mean, that's those times where it's like if you're going into areas, where you're gonna have some other hunter pressure. You're hunting the hunter while you're hunting the deer at the same time. If you kind of got a beat on where a lot of hunters are going,
Yep.
you know what? Maybe I'll just pinch closer to the road and maybe walk this strip a little bit. Yeah. I know for a
Yep.
fact. I could put up pictures. 100% there's deer sign close to the roads more time than not.
Absolutely. I've had where I've gone 3 miles back. I'm like, there ain't nobody that's gonna go back there. I mean, you have to cross, 3 different sloughs, and I mean, it's miserable.
Yep.
And especially in the early season, it's just full of mosquitoes. So it's just mosquito infested. You're like, nobody's gonna go back there. So that's where obviously all the deer are in your head. But when you get out there and you don't see nothing, then all of a sudden you see a guy sitting there dragging, like a 160 class deer out. You're like, where'd you get that? He goes, oh, probably 40 yards off the trail right here. It's like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, great. So,
All right. All right. So let's dig into this a little bit. Let's get into your bow setup. Would you consider yourself more of a rifle hunter or a bow hunter?
Oh, absolutely, bow hunt. I rifle hunt, but I don't get a thrill out of shooting a deer with a rifle. I don't know why. I don't get the shakes. I don't get the
really?
buck fever. I don't. I don't know why.
All right.
I think people shot so many deer with a rifle, but I mean, to me, it's more rewarding shooting them with an arrow.
I can get that. I get that. Yeah.
All right. So if you don't mind, kind of walk us through your bow setup. Like what maybe start us out with something that your current setup versus setups you've had in the past, and kind of how you evolved as a bow hunter.
Yeah. So I shoot it'd be a Matthews V3X. I had gotten that when I actually went through the Matthews program. After you graduate their class, they give you a bow. So I'm like, well, this is awesome.
That's
So I
pretty
mean,
cool.
yeah, it's really cool. And so I'm like, all right, I got this bow, and they're like, yeah, dress it up all you want, how you want to do it, and stuff like that. So I mean, I got the drop away. I got the Matthews quiver. I got the Matthews stabilizer. I've got everything. And at the end, they're like, well, Bill. I'm like, I said, I thought it was free. He goes, no, the bowl was free. He said, everything else you got to pay for. So I got the Matthews V3X. Like I just told you, set up. I shoot the Victory, the Rip. I shoot those with the 350 spine. And then I shoot the Montec G5s, the 100 grains. That's just what I like. I used to be all about expandables until I've had times where I've had either a twig or even I've had to shoot through brush, even just a little bit of brush. I mean, mechanical is kind of where I'm at, like I want a fixed blade. I don't want mechanical anymore. So that's why I stuck with the G5s. Obviously you get a lot of pressure from other companies to try their stuff, but I'm just gonna stick where I'm at. I mean, I'm not against trying to go against it, different broadhead setups, but so far the Montec G5 is kind of where it's worked for me the best.
Isn't that exactly what you're shooting, Chris, or the 125s?
I'm shooting the 100s. Yeah.
Oh, you're shooting even lighter. Really? Okay.
Can't go wrong with them.
How'd you land on hundreds? How'd you stay with them over instead of like a 125 or 150? It just works. Working for you?
Yeah.
Listen, whatever
So,
preference, man. That's
No, I'm just asking that.
bad, but the 100 everything that I put 100 grain Montec through, I've recovered. So
No more.
all right. So moving a little bit more into your gear. What would you say, like, if you're trekking out into the woods, is there a specific pack that you use? Do you like to travel lighter? Do you carry a little bit more gear? Like what's your average hunt setup look like?
Going out on private property, I'll pack a little heavier. So I'll usually have like my bows. I mean, even with I do have sticks. I do have some hang-ons that are out there. So I'll have my sticks and all that other stuff out there. So I'll pack a little heavier versus when I'm going out to public. I mean, I'm going to try to pack as light as I absolutely can. I'm going to catch you. I do have a Sitka pack. That's all I own from Sitka. I had gotten that from a buddy. He'd gotten it, and he's like, you can just have it. I'm like, well, I'm not going to turn it down. So I got that, and I mean, when I'm out public, I mean, it's pretty light because, again, for some odd reason, I believe you have to go out 3 miles to shoot something. And I'm a big boy, and I don't really want to walk as much stuff back as I have to. And I mean, the hang on, I'm sorry, it's heavy enough, so I mean, I don't want to pack as much more than I have to.
I hear you, my man. Trust me, it was just a matter of time coming before I ended up in a saddle just for the sheer fact of the weight of the climber. I just got annoyed. I reached a point last season, I was just annoyed. Going in's one thing, but then sliding something back out on the way out,
Right.
you're either taking 2 trips or you're doing it in one shot. Either one's not glamorous.
Right. And I mean, I'm not opposed to trying to go saddle. I'm really not. I mean, it'd be so much helpful out there on public. It'd be so much helpful. But honestly, I mean, from where I'm at is the amount of people that come here and hunt. Because I mean, it's from between Buffalo and Pepin County there have been some of the biggest booner buck shot in the United States. I mean, there's bucks. I mean, the biggest one in the Pepin County where I live right now is a 209. Then the next county over 211, then you got a 220 in there in Buffalo County. So I mean, they're huge deer. So I mean, but really the saddle has not really gotten big at all around Wisconsin. I mean, I actually been personally, I've never seen a person out there with one. So
Really?
I mean, yeah, I mean, is it coming? Most likely. I mean the saddle thing, every year. I mean, the last year or two, I mean, it's kind of blowing up around here. I mean, you can start to hear it about it more, but I mean, it just hasn't reached here yet. I haven't seen or heard anybody about buying, saddles at all yet.
What do you think is the most predominant setup that you'll see in your area? Is it more like pop-up tents? Is it more like shooting house style, or is it hang-ons? What do you think?
The climbers, that's what everybody uses.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I mean, you go to Shields. I mean, I live not too far from Shields, but you go up there and you'll see a ton of climbers. And I think there's one set up there for, I guess you would say a saddle. But again, I don't. They up there they don't know really enough about it to try to get me fitted. And like, I'm not going to try to wing this by any
Yeah, no,
means. I
no,
mean,
yeah.
I'm not going to get my fat ass up in a tree and try to wing this and fall out. It ain't happening.
I just find it very interesting. Like you brought up a couple. There's so many things, geography based, state based. It could even go county by county where you're at. Just the fact that maybe climber is the preferred method over even like a hangout or like pre-hung sets is interesting. So again, maybe that's due to the fact where maybe a lot of these, let's call it a farm or ranch, they got access with a side by side or an e-bike or even a truck.
Right.
Maybe they could park the truck on the other side of the hill and then walk that last 100 yards. Maybe that's a very real possibility where a lot of us, like I know for a fact here on the island, you're parking at the spot, and maybe some of the spots have trails, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but to go 3/4 of a mile, you're in the woods at least for half a mile of that. Yeah. So
Right.
that's where
Yeah,
it's not as practical. But if you could pull up on a quad, park it, and then you only got to go 75 yards or so, yeah, it's climber
there's
at
so
that
many
point it's done.
things too around here. I mean, there's so many ways to get into the woods. I mean, it's nothing to ask a farmer, especially if you're on public, to be like, "Hey, can I park on the edge of your hayfield here?" And just I'm walking into public, though.
Really?
And they're like, "Yeah, go ahead. You're just parking there. You're not hunting my fields or anything like that." Or you'll get the one that'll be like, "I've been seeing a lot of deer here, sitting at the corner of the woods here. Don't even go into public. Just shoot right there." So I mean, but there's just so many ways to get access that helps a lot.
So would you feel comfortable? Maybe that's a reason of it. You think, from
I
what you've
think
been
so.
seeing?
I think so. I mean, like other than the where I've had to trek back. I mean, other than your average on public land, I mean, you're maybe walking max half a mile, quarter mile. I mean,
Okay.
from wherever at point. So I mean, essentially hanging a climber and that's not too
No,
bad.
no, that's the perfect range for it, without a doubt.
Exactly. So I mean, I guess that's really what it is. But I know I mean, the only biggest issue, as I mean, trying to find the perfect tree is a pain in the butt, though, too.
Yeah, find them phone poles, man.
Yeah, yeah, they don't grow in the woods here in Wisconsin, though.
It's a rare breed. It's a cross. It's a hybrid. So, producer Chris, you want to do anything else for the essential gear, or do you want to do Q&A?
All right, I guess we can roll right into Q&A. We already had one question, so I'll ask you this, Chad. If you have to pick a shot on a whitetail, what are you really looking for? Are you looking for that heart shot, kind of tucking it in behind that front shoulder, or are you kind of looking to double lung that deer and shoot a little bit higher on the mid?
I mean, I guess I'll I'll always try to go for that hard shot, get right in that pocket. Just because, for me personally, I don't want that. For one, I don't want him to run that far because I don't like chasing deer. Two is I'm trying to get the most ethical shot I can for him to go down as quick as possible. I don't like when they suffer. I mean, that's just a preference point. Again, that's karma. But I mean, if the option's there for a double lung, I'm definitely going to send one through the lungs because there's not every time you're going to get that perfect pocket where it's going to be broadside. Whether he could be quartering away from you or quartering into you, I mean, if that's the best shot he's going to give you, I mean, I'm going to take it. But I mean, there's also deer where I've gotten a shot where I could have double lunged it, where he's quartering towards me, where I know I'm going to sit there probably get one lung, but the rest of my arrow's going to come right out of his guts. I'm not going to shoot it. But I've had, and that was the biggest buck I've ever could have possibly got. That's the one you guys have seen him probably on my page, but we called him Dozer. Um, he ended up scoring 198 points is what he scored. Um, but the neighbor had shot him, made an unethical shot, sent it right through his guts, and that was 2 years ago he had shot him. But I mean, I'll be posting up, but literally 4 days ago he was found. His dead head was found. They found his antlers. I mean, they found the rest of the bones, everything, and that's the kind of thing that upset me was, he said he took every preference to try to find him, to try to find that buck, but he said he lost blood and couldn't find it. And that deer actually ended up being 60 yards from his stand.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I mean, like, and I, the person that found him offered, because he was just out there shed hunting, and he'd offered the guy, that had shot him. He said, you can have your buck. We know you're the one that looked for it. And he says, do I think you deserve it? No. He says, because, that big buck, he said he went off, he suffered and then he went and died. He said, but he says, you're the one that shot, you're the one that dropped it, and you can have it. And he goes, and the guy's like, I don't want it. He goes, I didn't find it. I didn't do the work to find it. He says, you found it. He says, it's your buck. So now that's actually going into um, Pepin County's book for the largest deadhead found in Pepin County. The largest one before was a 191. He scored a 198 in like 3/4.
60 yards away.
60 yards away. Is that where he went? Essentially,
No,
probably not. I mean, he probably circled back,
exactly.
and then
That's the end of a big oval loop, probably that spanned probably almost 200 yards. But
but the problem was the guy said he made about a 40-yard circle and it just stopped.
right,
He didn't
right.
he didn't try to go the next day. He said, I looked 40 yards. I had a couple drops here, a couple drops there. But the problem was he tried looking for him immediately after he shot him. I understand. I mean, you're excited. That's a big buck.
You got
So
to
I mean,
know
you're
when
excited.
to pull back out, though. That is something
Yeah,
that probably most hunters, I'll even put myself in that category. I probably have pushed deer because I went in too soon. I'll
yeah,
probably almost at 100% said at least one deer. I pushed him from a bed where they probably would have died
yep,
and then end up empty handed.
exactly. It's like one of the guys on our team this year. He had shot a buck. It was a nice 9-pointer, and he shot it. He said he watched it literally drop out in the bean field. And he's like, let it drop. And he said, it went 20 minutes. And he's like, well, I see him drop. He hasn't got up, and I'm going to go, check him out now. Went out there, dropped, jumped him. He went running across. And then we went out that night. I think we were out till about 2:30 in the morning. And we never found him. And then we went out the next day, looked from about 6 o'clock in the morning till about noon, and we never found him. So, as a kind of lesson, it's like, whether, you think you down, I always tell them, first thing I said, your arrow tells a big story. I mean, exactly what kind of blood he got on there and stuff like that. I mean, for him, it actually happened. He got a lung and a liver. That's what he got. And I'm like, you at least need like 7 hours to let him lay there. But, it's, it's again, a lesson learned for him, but, the way is you just learn them. Because I mean, again, like you said, I'm guilty of jumping them too early. Where after I'm like, well, it's been a half hour, an hour. I'll go look for him, and then all of a sudden you see the tail flying. It's like, you should have been dead. I know it was a good shot, but they're tough animals.
Did you have two different color blood on that arrow? You guys were able to tell that it was lung and liver?
Yeah. So that's actually one thing I've actually, my dad made me study. Actually, kind of growing up when we're shooting and stuff like that is, they look for the bubbles. He
Right.
says, Well, it's dark blood. He says, good chance that right there is a liver shot. It's a dark blood, and it's going to be kind of more watery a little bit too. He says that, and he says, but if you have a gut shot, he says, just smell your arrow. You're going to smell it.
You
You're
know
going to know.
right away. Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. He says, so, I mean, your arrow tells a huge story if it has a pass through.
Right.
But, I mean, also the blood on the ground too is, when he's bleeding out, I mean, a lot of times too, if you get one where you stick it in a deer and, doesn't get a complete pass through, I mean, there's a good chance you won't find blood at the spot, but I mean, you kind of follow where he goes, and within 20 yards, you should find something. And so, we got the bubbles for lungs and all that other stuff, but dark, but again, you just got to know when to kind of pull out of the situation. But, lesson learned.
I think no matter what the scenario, even if you got a pass through, well, how
Mhm.
about this? Step number one, no matter what, you find your arrow. That way,
Mhm.
you got a pass. You might think you smoked this thing double lung, but
Yeah,
meanwhile, maybe that deer ducked and you went right over the back in the rush and you
exactly.
didn't know, or you were just low.
Yep,
Find that
exactly.
arrow. To me, you don't move forward till you find your arrow. Obviously,
That's
if you
why.
see it drop, okay. Yes, there's certain scenarios. Let's talk about a deer that went over the horizon, over that hill. You can't see it. But let's say you either had a pass through, a miss, or broken. It went in halfway, broken the off shoulder. Any arrow part you can find is critical. Like you say, it tells you exactly what you're in for.
Exactly. And I always suggest, I always tell people I know, like new archers and stuff like that, is, yeah, when you're starting, you do want to go a little cheaper, because you don't know whether you're going to like it or not. I mean, it's just beginning. But I mean, I always suggested when I worked at the shop and stuff like that to new archers is get lighted knocks. I mean, it is going to make the world a lot easier because I mean, for one, I said if it's stuck in your deer, you're going to have a general idea where you're going. You're going to see that lighted knock. I said, or two, I said it's gonna be a lot easier to find your arrow because, again, like you said, finding your arrow is number
Yep.
one. Because whether like you pass it or not like that, but that tells you a huge story what's going on with that deer.
There's very few people in the deer woods that the weight of a lighted knock is really going to change your setup to any degree.
Yep.
I'll feel confident in saying that. Chris, you're our in-house tech guru. Would you agree with that or disagree?
No, I would agree. You figure most lighted knocks are in the area of 18 to 20 grains. You're really if you're accounting for that in your arrow weight, and when you're sighting in your bow, you shoot a couple with your lighted knock just to confirm your hits. It's really not going to make as much of a difference as anybody that would think that it's making a difference. You're wrong. And if that
You're not that guy,
if
Mel.
much of a difference, maybe you should probably rethink your setup
Yeah.
to begin with. No, I agree. Lighted knocks are a game changer. I would recommend some people, they just put one arrow in their quiver has a lighted knock. My hunting quiver has a lighted knock on it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
And more, I would say, I agree. Finding your arrow is the most important thing you can do after you climb down. Having that lighted knock is tremendous. And quickly tell a story of my deer in 2022. I made a bad shot. I gut shot him. I knew I gut shot him before I was even out of the stand. I was on the phone with the guy with the dog. I already had the schedule. We knew we were coming back 12 hours later to look for him. First thing I did, I walked down, found my arrow, stuck it right in the ground, lighted knock on and all. So when we came back in the dark, you could see it from way off, and then we could walk right to that spot and let the dog go to work.
Definitely good for tracking less blood. I mean, it makes a world of difference. Like you said, when you got to back out, at least if you have blood on the ground, you just keep your lighted knock on. At least you know where to start.
Yeah.
Because I've made the dumbest mistake where I've shot one, and I'm like, all right, well, this is my arrow. I'll just shut off the lighted knock and put it back in the quiver. Also, I'll be back in a couple hours, and all of a sudden you get out there and you're like, where the hell did where was my last blood?
Yeah.
So I mean, thank God for Onyx because I marked it.
Yep.
But
Turn the tracker on the minute you start blood trail. Just turn that tracker on.
and yeah. So we started doing that tracker. Is it exactly on? No, but it's definitely within range.
It's closer to trying to figure it out in the dark by hanging tape or something, or whatever. It saves you that grief. All right. I don't want to forget about a couple of questions that we had. So Chad, I'll kind of give them to you in the, I guess, like a simplified version. We don't have to go too far into them. One of them, I forget who it was. I apologize. Is your arrow set up heavier or lighter? Let's say above 500 or below 500.
It's below it. I mean, yeah, so I mean, with the 100 gain and the 350 spine and stuff like that. I mean, I'm probably, biggest thing is, so I made the change last year. Other than before that, I was shooting the Montec G5s and I was shooting, Easton FMJ. So I mean, I was running about a 440 grain arrow. So I mean, which is great. But at least in this area, I mean, FMJ is. I mean, if you guys don't use them, or if you guys do use them, or thinking about getting them, but man, are those things getting expensive. And but I mean, I liked them, but I wanted to try something new. So I mean, I guess I went over to the Victory. I talked to a Victory rep, and he kind of gave me a setup where it's going to be close to it. He thinks, but obviously not exact. But I mean, I've shot two does this year, and I got complete pass throughs with it. So again, I'm happy with it.
All right. Well, this is actually a perfect segue. Jason Killing and Grilling. Obviously, he's one of the reps for Warhead Arrow. I shoot them. A couple of the guys that follow the show pretty consistently, like in our core group, they shoot them as well. So you never know. Maybe Warhead in the future that you can work with them, see what they can offer you.
I'm out.
But Jason did want to know what type of release you were using, a thumb or a finger.
Figure.
Okay.
I cannot get on the thumb game. I don't know what it is. I mean, I got bear paws for hand, and that thumb I cannot get it. I've tried it multiple times, even when I was going to school and working on bows, and I try it, and I just for some odd reason I just bump that thing before I even get a full draw, and I just couldn't get on it. So I mean, yeah, I still stick with the old finger pull.
Yeah, I got three of them. Like I think it was one of the line we were talking about how we should always have a backup, and at this point I have a tertiary. The tertiary is like in the truck, the backup's in the stand with me, and then my primary is tethered to my harness. Definitely. I mean, anybody that's running a thumb release, do you guys have a backup thumb release with you?
Yeah.
I would think so, right?
Yeah, I carry both of mine with me, and I'll have them each in a separate pocket in my vinyl harness.
Yep.
So I got one side, one on the other. So if one opens up while I'm walking in or something, all right, cool. I still got another one. I'm still in the hunt. But not only that, if this, say the one that's hooked on my bow falls off for whatever reason, okay, cool. Pull this one out. I don't even have to get down. I'm still in the game.
Has that ever happened? You hooked up to the D loop and you had it actually unhook?
No, I've never had it happen where I lost one while hunting. This year, while I was recovering my buck, the one that I used for hunting actually fell out of my pocket. When we went, I went out to the truck to get the sled. When we came back in to get the deer, I knew it was missing, so I knew where I had to look for it. It wasn't on the trail walking in, and I knew, it had to be somewhere near my deer or to my stand. As soon as I rolled the deer over, it was laying underneath the deer. So it does happen. It's never happened to me where it's fallen out while I'm walking in or while I'm in the stand. But this year I did have my pocket opened up while I was moving the deer. And luckily when I came back in to drag the deer out, it was still in the same spot that I left it. But
I mean, I guess that's not a bad spot for it to land.
no, I mean, the worst place for it to get lost. But again, say I had lost that, I mean, this isn't going to be that hard to disappear in the leaves. So, having a backup is definitely something I would recommend to anybody it doesn't matter if you're running a wrist strap release. Have one in your bag. Have an extra one in your bag.
Yep.
You never know what's going to happen. It's two is one is none.
Exactly. I know. Just for the simple, shit, I changed my pack for the day, or I took a fanny pack instead of my backpack. Whatever, something simple as that. Or you hopped in your buddy's truck.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times me and my dad will carpool in the afternoon. I know in my truck everything's boom, 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 but maybe he drives that afternoon and, oh, shit, I got no release now. No, I got one in the saddlebag, on my stand at all times. So, yeah, I agree.
It's definitely it's an essential piece of gear. You're not going to go hunting without it. So why would you leave that to chance? Yeah. While we're on the subject of releases, I don't know if we covered this. Chad, do you shoot a thumb release, or do you use back tension or a wrist strap?
He was just saying regular index.
Regular
Yeah.
index. Yeah. Now, what have you always shot with that, or do you just find that is how you shoot the best?
So I've always shot with it. I tried to go the thumb release. I really have. I mean, I've tried a few different brands, I know a few different styles and everything like that. It's just, I guess I couldn't get on the train. It just wasn't working for me. Where I felt, I mean, I've probably shot, probably with about 100 arrows even out of these, and it just to me it still wasn't comfortable. Where I was fully comfortable with using it. So I mean, then I just went back to the old index finger.
All right. Well, we got a good question here from Tommy. So, and this is one of my favorites. So, what's your camo of choice, and why Sitka Subalpine?
Um, well, I mean, I guess if I really wanted to stick out in the woods to everything, I guess I would wear Sitka.
Oh,
So
little
actually,
singer, little singer. I like it.
I guess I've used Realtree for years. But actually, we partnered with, and I mean, you can go on on my page and get 10% off on it. But we partnered now with Who Camo. I don't know if you guys seen them on Instagram, but we partnered with them. So I mean, that's where all of our gear will be going to this year. We are in the talks of possibly, because they're from Texas, and so I've been in the talks with them, well, designing I guess, more of a better camo situation for, like, say, the Midwest, or the East Coast or West Coast, because they're pretty close to, I mean, Texas. I mean, they're pretty close to Sitka, but I mean, they're not. But I guess they were trying to be Sitka, but I mean, it just to me, it's a better pattern that flows in. But just with the color scheme and stuff like that, trying to get something that's closer to the Midwest, heavier timber area.
All right. I think we're gonna end it with this question from Mr. Squatch. And why not? We haven't mentioned it yet. Obviously, you like your Pursuit energy drinks.
Yep.
What's your favorite flavor?
Oh, it's definitely the citrus berry.
Yeah, that's probably the go-to one, man. That's
I'm
the
not gonna lie,
pick.
definitely a second is the grape. I mean, that tastes like childhood, for real. I mean,
Yep.
when you're a kid and you're up there and you're getting those grape popsicles, yeah, that's what it tastes like.
Yep. That's a good way to put it. I kind of explain it to people like the grape drinks like grape soda,
Yeah,
the orange drinks like orange soda. If I had
yeah,
to explain it, it's simply, simple put. So,
absolutely.
all right. I think for Q&A, we're going to hold it on that. I got two more questions for you, and then we're going to start wrapping up the show for tonight. So you can either make this for yourself or for 715, or if you want to combine them. What's a personal goal or a company goal with 715 for this upcoming season, and then maybe even a goal long term?
Right. So I guess our goal constantly, I guess, is always to bring a positive aspect or a positive outlook to hunting. Again, like there's so much negativity. I mean, you see it online all the time. I mean, even if you go on Instagram, there's constantly people attacking people. And I just want to see the positivity. I mean, like, I don't. I get upset when I go and look at somebody, some kid sit there shot, say, like, a little 5-pointer or even like a spike, and there's people like, well, why would you shoot that? Or why would you? If that kid, like, if that kid's heart was pumping and beating, like, out of his chest, and he shot that and he is proud of that thing and wants to show that off, good for him. That's what it's all about. It's all about how you feel. I mean, you're not shooting that deer for anybody else. You're not doing it to impress anybody else. I mean, so don't drag the person down. Be positive about it. They're happy to show that to people. Congratulate them. Be happy for them. But there's just so many times that like, why would you shoot that little raghorn, or like, that's a nubbin. Why would you shoot that? It's like, if that's what made them happy, that's what made them happy.
That's it, man. Anybody out there, if you get any feedback, negative feedback from a harvest, you send it to me. I'll put it on my story. I'll make a reel for you. I'll boost it. Whatever makes you happy. You're that happy that you pulled the trigger on it, or you let an arrow fly, freaking, especially with the bow, and you got it done. Hell yeah. Nice job.
Yeah. And but I guess long term, I guess, I mean, personally, is just kind of keep grinding, kind of see where we're going. And I mean, do I want, like, like I said, we started that, the company now, and it's growing, so, we'd like to try to get out to, different outdoor shows. I mean, which I'll be in March 15th. I'll be at the Eau Claire, Wisconsin Outdoor Show, Northern Outdoor Spring Show in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So I'll be there. But then, I mean, just get more active or interactive with different hunters and different perspectives, and I guess kind of learn the game a little bit more, and just try to make a more positive community. But um, growing the company to where I want it to be. I mean, do I want it to be something that I do 100% of the time? Probably not.
Yeah.
But I mean, some for the side, I guess that's what I'd like to do. I mean, I enjoy it. I mean, I really have a passion for, the outdoors and building food plots and stuff like that. Like I said, it's their game and you're beating them at their game. And if I can help you get a deer at their game, I'm going to still even feel better. Like when I built bows for people and custom bows and set their setup and everything like that, when they came into me and the shop and they would send me pictures of the deer they shot with that bow that I set them up or what arrow set up, that made me happier than ever. So I mean, if I can get to a point where you're growing big bucks and I mean you shoot the biggest buck of your life and you're so proud of it from a food plot or an area that I help you build and design, that is going to make me happier than ever. I'm just happier at people's success, I guess is what you could say.
No, nothing wrong with that, man. That's a very solid. It's a very just realistic, humanistic goal to have. So I wish you nothing but the best of luck with it. I think at that point, producer Chris, man, I think it's that time. You can start wrapping us up. But
All right. So if you could, Chad, real quick before we start wrapping up, tell everybody where they can find your content.
You can find us on Instagram at 715 Outdoors. You can try to find us on TikTok, if we don't get banned, I mean, which is pretty consistent. But 715 Outdoors. We just started the YouTube. That's getting fired up. And you can find us on Facebook as well at 715 Outdoors.
All right. So with that, I want to thank everybody for stopping by tonight. Chad, I definitely want to thank you for taking the time out to meet with us tonight and chat a little bit.
Yep.
Everybody, if you haven't already, head over to pursuitenergy.com, use code 10live while you're there to save 10% on your energy drink purchases. If you're going to be in the tri-state area, Empire State Outdoor Sportsman Show, February 29th, March 3rd. Dave and I will be there. Rob will be joining us, and we will be in booth 231 and 232. Please stop by. We'd love to, if we haven't met you, we'd love to meet anybody we can. If we have met you, we'd love to have you stop by and shoot the shit for a little while. It's going to be a good time. It's 4 days, so please come on out, show some support. It should be a good event. And stay tuned. Next week we will be going, public with our fundraiser raffle. We will be giving away a full bow setup, and some other accessories with it. So please, this fundraiser that we're doing, it's not for us. We are benefiting the American Bear Foundation, Wounded Warriors in Action, and the NYPD archery team. So you're getting a conservation group, a veterans group, and we are supporting new archers and law enforcement with NYPD archery. So stay tuned for that. That's something we kind of are really hoping to help these people out this year. We're looking to do more this year as well. So hopefully this will be the first of many raffles and fundraisers that we're going to be able to do and kind of help others in the outdoor space. So with that, thank you everybody for stopping by. As always, Dave and I love doing this, and we do it because of you people. So thank you for the support. Dave, you got anything else?
no, I think you did a great job, man. That raffle is really something. Like you said, it's not about the bow, as awesome as that is. I think I'll even say we'll selfishly ask people for a good turnout with that one, only because of where those proceeds are going to. Like you said it perfectly. 3 different categories that we all care deeply about. The winner gets a brand new bow set up and some accessories to go with it. So it's a way to support us. But at the end of the day, where that money is really going to as a true donation, just keep that in the back of your head. We got to sell 500 tickets to make it work. Any support is appreciated, I will say that. But we are looking to kind of hit it out of the park. It's our first one. We want to do good so we can keep doing it for you guys. So on top of that, again, Chris, thank you for everything you do. Chad, thank you for joining tonight.
Thank you, guys.
All the viewers that we had tonight throughout the night, we're still closing with about 10 or 11 people here. We appreciate it. Spread the word. Chris with Only Bows, myself with Urban Pursuit. Obviously, Chad with 715 Outdoor Nation. Anybody you see here in the comments, pretty much all these men and women, they join us weekly for this show, and we just have a good time. It's just straight up the best way to put it. It's relaxed. It's a laid back setting, and we're looking to grow it. We're looking to have a really good year this year, so we appreciate all the support as always.
Not here for a long time. Good time.
What's that, bud?
That's it.
We're not here for a long time, but we're here for a good time.
Hey, that's a perfect way to end it right there. I'm good on that. Thank you,
That's it.
Chad. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you next week. We should have a good show for you. And remember, Empire State Outdoorsman Show next week, New York. If you can be there, be there.
Yeah, we'll be live from location somewhere for that one, so that'll be a cool one.